Today we're going to look at 4 different elements of exploring trust at its core, looking at why trust is really low across the industry, and introducing various trust scores. And finally, it's about how we can embed trust into your organization. So if we start off by looking at the English language. The English language has many interpretations, many meanings, and many definitions. However, what I want you to do and think about is, what does trust really mean for you? So when we look at the definition of trust and the neuroscience of the human brain, there are some really common languages and common words that appear across all humans. Now, these words will resonate with you. I want you to think about the words that resonate when you're thinking about a brand that you really trust or a company that you really believe within. If we look at the next slide, introducing the trust scores, we can really see that trust has never been lower across our entire industry. One of the key reasons why trust is really low, it comes back down to the use of data and the use and handling of that data. As we live in a digital world, trust and building that trust with consumers is quite important. And as we can see, trust is inherently built in to products and services provided by doctors. So in this graphic, we can see that 87% of consumers trust doctors with their patient records, as opposed to 56% of consumers that trust in social media companies and advertising companies. So how do we increase these trust scores? And how do we increase that across all industries? And how do we follow the model where patients trust their doctors with patient records? This is the golden standard, whether it's banks or insurance companies. In our industry, we need to get there. Trust and privacy are very key in shaping new platforms across new media forms, new content creation, or general advertising platforms. And what we need to do is utilize the common languages of trust across these platforms and embed that and bake that in right into its core DNA. Platforms are all taking different types of approaches to trust and transparency and privacy. And this is what is really at the heart of consumers wanting a different experience from these platforms, and why trust is such an important issue for our industry. Think about the platforms and the various environments that you're currently engaged in the most. As a consumer, what are the different ways and what are the things that you wish were common across different platforms? We're now going to focus on some simple tips that you can take back to your organization in order to embed trust into your organization across products, services. I'm going to give you some simple tips on how we can break this down and make it tangible, make it real and effective, and also go through some of the highlights of how trust wins relationships. Trust really wins with consumers. How asking some really important questions around how different is your brand, how different is your team, what is the value that you are creating for those consumers or for those behaviors, and how does that difference really resonate in today's world? This is a hard question to answer, but we need to start here. The second area that we're going to look at in terms of trust on the top right quadrant is trust really helps to drive more purchases. And a lot of organizations only use sales as a metric to base all of their next piece of work on, or how well they are doing through sales or through surveys. And this is a lagging indicator, as we all know. Sales isn't a good indicator, because sales is one of the lowest indicators for you to find out, and one of the slowest indicators of why trust is not embedded into those areas. We need to really think about trust in this way as well, and not just using sales or surveys to base all of the decisioning off of. Trust also earns loyalty. We all are customer-centric. We all say that we are as an organization, but what does that really mean? We need to be paranoid and feverish about trust, as it's paramount in achieving trust at every step and every interaction of the way. It really helps bed those things in. And finally, the last piece in this quadrant is looking at trust protecting brands in hard times. So be inspired from the outside world. Don't be too myopic in how you think. Different industries, look at those. Again, if we look back to the trust scores, we can see that things are happening in the world of doctors, in the world of banks and insurance companies where they have a lot higher trust scores. And we need to look to those areas of why they have trust so high. They have that baked in right at the heart, right at the forefront of what we're doing. What are the different things? How can we create differences and embrace that? That's what's key here. And the difference in people, personalities, looking at things is really what's going to help drive trust into the organization and thinking about that. These things need to be embedded into the way that you think, do, act, feel, and really being, paramount and paranoid about how you're going to achieve those elements. One of the easiest tips I'm going to take away for you to take away into this presentation is how can you reduce friction today? This is one of the easiest ways to start off with embedding trust in your organization. Friction drives people nuts. These are some ways in which friction can be reduced or minimized in the organization, and it will lead to a lot better employee engagements. It will lead to a lot better customer experiences. And finally, I just want to close by saying that trust is a human thing. It's more important than ever before as digital use continues to rise to embed trust into your organization. And as we know, the benefits of trust lead to more sales, and using the simple tips for reducing friction will go a long way with yourself and your organization. Thank you.